As we said earlier, the issue of the Shura Council and the latest developments there, the amendments of new articles, how those articles were amended, will there be any more articles, is there going to be a fuss on the concept of amending articles in the first place after a constitution that was approved and passed on very shortly. To discuss that and much more, we're very much delighted to have joining us here in the studio Dr. Freddy Elbaiady. He's a member of the Shura Council and also a member of the Supreme Council for Protestants and Churches in Egypt. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Elbaiady. First of all, we would like to talk first about the amendment, like Yasmin mentioned, of the new articles concerning the upcoming elections. One of several articles in the law that were amended were under heated debates concerning women's rights and to be elected in the parliament, concerning joining another party and then going back to your own party. I mean, those were under a lot of debate and were refused by many other factions other than the domaining political faction.
Sure. Yeah, they were very hot articles and they took a long time for discussion, actually several days discussing it in the committee for the law committee of the council and then in the council sessions itself. The women issue was actually voted for at the first time. The council voted for having at least one woman in the first half of each electoral list, in the lists which have more than four seats. And then later on they opened the discussion again, and unfortunately they voted down for against the woman to be in the first half of the list. So they said it's only going to be one woman in each list, and this can actually this means can be at the end of the list and means nothing good for women. So unfortunately they voted down for women having what you call an affirmative action or positive discrimination. And actually there were some amendments. I applied for an amendment in this part, actually trying to give some affirmative action for women, Christians and young people. I proposed an amendment suggesting that each electoral list should have either a woman or a Christian in the upper quarter of the list, and at least one young man below age of 35 in the first half of the list, young man or young woman, I mean young person. But this was rejected by the majority, and they rejected the affirmative action for both Christians and for young people, and they accepted the affirmative action for women at the first time, and again yesterday they discussed it again and they voted down for women's rights, unfortunately.
Now, Doctor, let's take a step backwards and discuss on a further notice the Constitution itself on the greater picture. I just don't understand why there are already so many amendments going on within the Constitution articles when the Constitution took a very long time to be written, and it should have been written by a group of expertise and professionals. And there was a debate on refusing the charter in the first place, and it was very recently approved by a majority, unfortunately. So what do you think as a member of the Shura Council on this picture? Because now they're working on the amendments of the law concerning the parliamentary elections because it's upcoming. But in the future, and looking at it on a further vision, there seems to be that there'll be a lot of debates, struggle, arguments within almost all the articles, which at the end many experts believe will end up being amended.
This is absolutely true. The Constitution was already voted for, and we respect the process of the referendum for the Constitution. The problem is that the majority which voted for the Constitution was not a high majority. When you speak about almost half of the people didn't vote for the Constitution. So we're speaking about 40-something% who voted no for the Constitution. So there's a large group of people who have who disagree with many articles of the Constitution, and they were going on a dialogue with presidential administration, trying to discuss what they can put as an amendments in the Constitution. And there's almost over 160 articles in the Constitution that were suggested that they need amendments. there is a big issue if this is going to be happen or not, because if the majority in the next parliament don't want this to be done, they need at least 2/3 of the parliament members to agree for any amendment to go on in the constitution. So whatever is going on there, if the majority of the coming parliament are not accepting these amendments, it will not happen. And this will create another problem in the community. Some people were calling from the first beginning that the acceptance of the constitution should be with a high majority, that at least 70% should say yes to the constitution, so that there will not be large groups of people who are disagreeing with the constitution.
Right. Those articles that were amended, the number of articles, how much will they be allowing for parties like the Salvation Front, Jabhat al-Inqaz, or other important opposition parties that represent the revolution, they shared in the revolution, and would be looking forward to be part of the upcoming parliament, you think?
Actually, there should be fair elections for everybody to join in. But there are some articles in the constitution that some people are skeptic or controversial articles, like one of the articles which allow any member of the parliament to change his party affiliation after he joins the parliament.
Yeah, we need you to elaborate on that, because lots of people are debating.
Actually,
it's a little bit of a controversy.
Yeah, the primary project which came from the government, the primary amendment, was restricting any body to change his political party affiliation after he joins the parliament. For example, if I am going to run as a candidate for an Islamic party, for example, and I win, I cannot change my party affiliation to another party which doesn't have the same principles. And there was a big discussion, and the argument was whether we vote for the parliament member's freedom to change his political affiliation, or it's the rights of the people who voted for this candidate, because they voted for him as an independent or as a party member, so he shouldn't change his affiliation with the party. I myself was with restricting within limits. If somebody joins a party and he wants to change, I said that he can't change from party to another party, but he can be an independent person, because sometimes it happens sometimes that if you are affiliated to the party and the party itself can change its principles, and then should I be still stick to this party, or I have the freedom to change my commitment to this party?
Yes. Now, Doctor, you've mentioned something very important, and that raises a question here. The fact that what we've been noticing during the past period from the Constituent Assembly, who was drafting the Constitution, up until the amendments itself, that there's always either the Islamist Noor Party and Freedom and Justice Party who are taking the decisions, or anybody else is considered the opposition or opposing the decisions and the articles. Where are the group of experts, the analysts, the economists, the politicians, the socialists, those people who are in direct contact with the society and who are reflecting the true image of society? Because mind you, even those who went to vote for the Constitution, a lot of us are not even aware of the articles of the Constitution. We don't even understand what they are. We don't see the vision of what they may lead to. So where are the experts in this equation, especially as there are chances for amendments? And we are seeing primarily with few articles.
There are some members in the parliament, I mean the Shura Council, who are experts in different fields, but of course they have their political affiliation and the party's affiliation. And sometimes in the committees of the council, we invite experts to discuss and speak and to tell their views. But at the end of the day, the political agendas of each party, it controls everything. They are trying to, each party is trying to do what will help him in the future for the elections, to gain more seats, to gain more authority. And the parties which has the majority, they control the voting. because at the end of the day, you will vote for any article.
Yeah, but I understand that from the political articles or from the political perspective, but there are a lot of other articles that tackle women rights and children rights and humanitarian issues and social rights that involves the whole society.
You're speaking of the Constitution or the
No, I'm talking about the
election law?
articles of the Constitution in general, because we are seeing primarily amendments. So what I'm talking here, how can experts involve themselves more with discussing with those who wrote the Constitution on means of amending the Constitution to help better the society later on, to avoid conflicts?
Yeah,
Personally speaking.
Yeah, the dialogue which is going on through the presidential administration, theoretically it involves some experts and some people who are telling their views and offering their ideas about amendments for the better future. But again, I'll say that it ends by voting. If you are in a group or a dialogue or in the parliament, at the end of the day will vote. So the majority, you have the more votes. If they don't accept changes or they don't allow minorities to be part of the decision, the minority of the opposition cannot win. And we will end by getting one authority or one party, as we used in the previous regime, was having the National Democratic Party, for example. And we don't want to end in this case. So the people who were voting, for example, at the article of not changing the political affiliation with the party, they were actually afraid that the highest majority party will attract the smaller party members to join them. So now the parliament, they have the absolute majority, and they can control everything. So we don't want to go back to the previous regime and having the same system as the National Democratic Party. So the majority should understand that it's for the future of the country and for the future of all the decisions that the minorities should share, and they should allow space for the smaller parties and for the smaller minorities who are not represented well in the parliament. They should be represented. And speaking of different groups like young people, like Christians, like women, who are not well represented. In the previous parliamentary elections, we had only 2% of women represented at the parliament as percentage, and this is the least representation of women internationally, all the parliaments, and it's really.
But this time it's also going to be the same with the new amendments, the same thing.
This time we don't know how many women will win, but of course we didn't take any measures.
It's leading to the same result.
We didn't take any measures to affirm better representation for women.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. You're saying it in other words, but let me also, you raised a very important point. You said that you don't want to go back to the former regime's mistakes. But also there was, after the former regime and after the revolution, there was a very bad experience with the former parliament. That was a result of a complimentary declaration by the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces that led us to election laws that brought in to life that former parliament. So how different do you see those articles that Yasmin is talking about that are amended from the ones that were produced by the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces, because there are fears that there is a risk of having the same results of a new parliament.
Of course, this risk is still there, and I'm one of the people who are afraid that the same thing will happen again. Of course, it has to be fair that some articles some amendments in the new law are good articles. The more concerned the clean election process, and the supervision of the process and the rights of the candidates to have the information. These parts are really good parts of the law. But the thing that we are not happy with, that it doesn't guarantee better representation for the people who are not represented well.
I mean, you are without interfering. You are in the kitchen. You were in the kitchen, or that thing was cooked. But did you see that people were really trying, those legal experts were really trying to avoid the mistakes that led us to the catastrophe of the former parliament? Did you notice, did you sense avoidance?
Yeah, some of them were trying to do, I'm speaking mainly of the elections process, but of course, some of them who are political affiliation, and most of them have political affiliation, and they were trying to keep the advantage of their majority party. They were trying to secure more seats in the next parliament for their party, and this was a real fight between the majority and the minority in the parliament. The opposition, which is very low minority, we were allowed to speak about our views and about our ideas. We gave our amendments, but finally the votes control.
Yes, sir. You spoke on the risks that are still there, and Dina spoke on the possibility of them trying to avoid repeating the same mistake again. But in order for that to happen, they need to take into consideration the temperature and the direction of people on the streets.
Yeah.
How far do you think the upcoming days' events, whether it is political or social or even economical, we are expecting price increases and so forth, how far do you think that could change the direction of the people on the streets and their choices in the upcoming parliamentary elections that could turn the whole table around and the risks could not be there anymore?
Yeah, I'm sure that things are changing in the streets, and it will not be the same plan as the previous elections, the same distribution of party seats. Is going to be different thing. How different, cannot be sure, but of course things change, and people can judge who's doing things for their privilege and who's doing things for their own advantage or for getting for their own political advantages. So I'm sure it's going to be different. How different, cannot actually tell, but it's going to be changing.
Like Yasmin said, let me carry the thread from what she's saying, build on what she's saying. We are in the middle of an expected severe economic crisis, the hikes in prices and everything, and a lot of pressure on the layman in the street, a lot of negligence and corruption that is leading to fatal death of civilians and people and children. Everything is upside down. So do you think that this is a good atmosphere for to be able to build a good and strong and liable parliament at this time?
Of course, it's not a good atmosphere at all, but still we need a parliament. You cannot function without a parliament. So it's a necessity to have a parliament. So we need many laws. Hopefully that the coming parliament will have a better representation of the people. We'll work on laws that will serve the people. So far, the laws authority which is given to the upper parliamentary room, which is the Shura Council, it's a temporary authority. So far, still we hope still even in the coming few months that the Shura Council have the authority to make laws, that they can make laws that touch the people's needs. Not only, of course, the elections law is important, but it's not only the law that people are concerned about. We need more laws that will serve the economy, serve the tourism, touch the people of the streets' needs. This is what the people are expecting from the Shura Council.
Now, Doctor, as you mentioned earlier, it is natural that these people or the members of the parliament that will come along the lines of serving the people will also serve the principles of their parties and their ideologies and strategies at the end. So my question here is, as an expert in the Shura Council, a member in the Shura Council, how do you see the behind-the-scenes struggle between both the Freedom and Justice Party and the Salafi Noor Party? Because we are, we do understand the conflict that happens between the Islamist parties and the opposition during this long period of time. But this new change in ideologies and strategies and clash, if I may say, between both Freedom Justice Party and Noor Party, how do you think that could affect the seats, the distribution, and the even discussion of cases concerning the Egyptians as a whole in the upcoming period?
Well, policy is, at the end of the day, policy is a game, and each party is trying to win. Each party is trying to win more in this game. Sometimes you need to have a kind of affiliation with somebody who you agree with or you don't agree with to gain more votes and to gain more seats. For example, what happened was in the article concerning the women rights in the election, or the women affirmative action, as we call in the elections. That was strange because at the first vote, the Salafi Noor party were against women affirmative action in the elections, and the Freedom and Justice with the opposition parts in the parliament were with this. So we voted yes. But again in the next turn, the Freedom and Justice, they agreed with the Noor party to vote down for the women. So they changed things again. So it seems that there are some things going on between them, and some things they unite together and they agree together, and again sometimes they disagree. So it's a game, and each one is trying to win more seats. It's a political game at the end of the day.
Right.
Very well, Dr. Freddy Elbaiady, member of the Shura Council and also member of the Supreme Council for Protestants and Churches in Egypt. Thank you very much for joining us
Thank
this
you.
morning on The Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and best of luck. And I guess this is where we end this edition of The Breakfast Show. Many thanks to you, Yasmin.
Thank you
for
very much,
keeping my
Dina,
company
and of course
today.
wishing you all a very lovely day.
Bye-bye.